Hello learners. So we've been discussing about plea of necessity. In the last video, we looked at what amounts to plea of necessity, what are the conditions associated with it. In this video, we will look at some of the cases where plea of necessity was invoked in the context of environmental protection. So in the last video, we looked at there are certain conditions that are attached for invoking the plea of necessity, and that makes it clear for us that it would be invoked only in exceptional circumstances. So we looked at the condition of it should be invoked only in case of essential interest, there should be grave and imminent peril, and then we also, so the first paragraph talks about these two conditions. First paragraph of Article 25 talks about these two conditions. Second paragraph says that when it cannot be invoked. One is if there is an exclusion of the plea of necessity explicitly. Then secondly, also the state should not have contributed to the situation of necessity. I mean, it makes sense to us because this flows from the general principles of law that that a country cannot take legal advantage of its own fault. So that anyway makes sense to us that if state had contributed to the situation of necessity, then cannot take any other measure violating the international obligation and cannot defend it under the plea of necessity. So with this, we can also look at the commentary. What has commentary had stated about the Article 25? The commentary had recorded few decided cases where plea of necessity was invoked. For instance, we could see Anglo-Portuguese case of 1832, Caroline incident of 1837, Russian fur seal case, Russian indemnity case, and many more cases where this sort of strengthens and reiterates the concept that there can be a defense of plea of necessity wherein that would preclude the wrongfulness of a state measure. So especially so if that state measure related to protection of environment, like we discussed in the last video. So that essential interest could also include protection of environment as well. So therefore, plea of necessity can be invoked in the context of environment. If we look at Gapsikova case, there the ICJ had rooted the plea of necessity in customary international law itself. So that is also an interesting observation. So and Gapsikova, in case of Gapsikova, ICJ has sort of reiterated and explained the application of plea of necessity, and that we could also see that this is something that can be rooted in customary international law as well. So some of the decided cases in the context of protection of environment also shed lights on how this particular plea of necessity can be used. But before I move on to those cases, I just also wanted to make one more point. If we look at Article 25 paragraph 1, there is a requirement, that is the measure that is taken by the state to protect an essential interest from a grave and imminent peril should be the only way. So what does this only way mean? So if we take the help of commentary, then we could sort of come to the conclusion the only way refers to the only option available, lawful option available for protecting the essential interest from the grave and imminent danger. So when we say this is the only option available, if at all there is proof adduced to say that there were other lawful alternatives, no matter if it is more expensive, doesn't matter if it is very burdensome. So just because it is expensive and it is inconvenient, that cannot justify the fact, or that cannot outweigh the fact that there were other lawful means available. So in that case, if there were other lawful means available, then probably invoking Article 25 would be a little bit difficult, because Article 25 itself stated that this should be the only way available for a state to enact those measures. I mean, we know that Article 25 is an exceptional remedy, right? So otherwise states are supposed to respect the international obligation they have assumed. If at all they want to preclude the wrongfulness of their measures, then they have to justify these stringent conditions. I mean, this is not very new also. Even if we look at the WTO approach, WTO also takes, especially in the context of necessity test, looks at whether that's the least trade restrictive measure, and it justifies, or a country can justify its measure under the general exception clause of the GATT agreement, provided they prove that that was the only option available to them, least trade restrictive approach that was available to them. If the other country sort of adduces evidence showing that there were other options that the respondent country could have taken, then in that case the tribunal may not allow for the measure to be justified under general exceptions. The panel or appellate body may not accept that as a justification. So what I am trying to say here is, the only way is not something very peculiar to the concept of plea of necessity. This is something that is accepted in the context of WTO law as well. So at the outset, it may look like to be a very onerous requirement, but given the exceptional nature of the defense, it could be justified as well. The commentary also stated that if there were any lawful means available, even if it is expensive, even if it is less convenient, still the plea of necessity cannot be invoked. Okay, so coming back to the cases where plea of necessity could be seen to be invoked in the context of environmental protection, we'll discuss 3 cases. In this video, we'll discuss 2 cases, and in the next video, we'll discuss the 3rd case in detail, right? So the first case that I want to highlight in this context is Russian fur seal case of 1893. So here we could see that Russia has enacted a measure with regard to fur seal, and the fur seal in the high seas, and it was technically not falling within the jurisdiction of any country, and Russia enacted a measure, and in fact the Russian minister had written a letter to the UK ambassador stating that there was a necessity for this provisional measure in order to prevent fur seals from being extinct. So they were, especially in the light of the upcoming hunting season. So there we could see there was an element of necessity, a plea of necessity. Otherwise, Russia does not have jurisdiction to regulate hunting of high sea, hunting of seals in high seas, right? So this could be cited as a first instance. The second instance is a fisheries jurisdiction case. So here Canada was not happy, or Canada did not consider the measures taken by NAFO, Northwest Atlantic Fisheries Organization, to conserve the straddling stocks to be very effective. So therefore, Canada came out with its own legislation, Canada Coastal Fisheries Act 1994, and it wanted to take measures in order to stop the overfishing of straddling stock. Especially, it wanted to curb the overfishing by Spanish fishermen of Greenland halibut, right? So it was a Spanish fishing ship, and Canadian officials boarded and arrested that because they wanted to conserve the straddling stock. So this was beyond in the high seas. So this was beyond the territorial jurisdiction of Canada. So when Spain questioned it, this became an essentially contest between Spain and Canada. Although the court did not find jurisdiction in this particular case, we can infer that the plea of necessity was invoked in this particular matter, right? So Canada enacted the measure in order to prevent the overfishing in high seas. So that's all can be. We could consider that to be a situation of environmental necessity. But the very biggest case in this respect of invoking plea of necessity in the context of environmental protection, I would say that case is Gapsikova case, and given the significance of this case for our discussion and for this course, I think we have to dedicate one entire video for discussing this case in detail. So therefore, I will discuss this case in detail in the next video. Thank you.